establish ground rules for every sales meeting. This cracks me up, actually, because in every aspect of life, people lay out how the conversation's going to go, but in sales. And I'll give you an example. Let's take a football game, right? Beginning of a football game, you got the two team captains come to get to the center of the field with a couple of other guys. And as they come together, looking like West Side Story, the ref comes out, he flips a coin, says heads, tails, choose this side, kick off, receive, and the whole 9 yards. So a question for the room, why do they have to have that conversation at every football game? Why do they have to have the coin toss? Anybody know?
Who gets the ball first?
Who gets the ball first, right? Maybe it's an easier question to ask. What happens if they don't have that conversation? Right? Right, absolutely. Chaos ensues at this point because nobody knows who's standing on what side of the field, what out of bounds are, this, that, and the other, and everybody just goes about however they want. And a lot of times on a sales call, we get frustrated at a prospect for doing something that we never told them they couldn't do in the first place because we laid no ground rules for how it's going to move forward. And it's going to sound something very similar like, hey, Mr. Prospect, thanks for inviting me in. Not thanks for sitting down with me, not thanks, for having this meeting. It's thanks for inviting me in. It's equal business stature, right? And simply asking, what makes this a good meeting for you? As we spend our time together, what do you absolutely need to hear from me? What do you want to know about my business? What do you need to know to be able to make a decision whether we should move forward with business or not? And they're going to tell you. They'll walk you through everything they want to hear. And then you got to flip it and say, okay, here's what I need. I want to talk specifically about your company. What are the things you've done in the past? What's worked? What hasn't worked? What budgets have you laid aside to do projects like this in the future? How does this decision process work? How are you going to go through to make a decision like this? And hey, Mr. Prospect, just so you know, as we go through this time together, I may really look at you and say, hey, I'm not going to be a good fit. Right? What my company does and what you need are not the same thing. They're not going to coincide in the same universe. If we get to that point, are you going to be upset with me if I tell you I can't help you and I'm not the company you're looking for? And 100% of the time, your prospects will look at you and say, God, I wish somebody would really say that to me. Right? Flip side, you can also look at them then and say, you know what? I may not be a good fit for what you're looking for. If you come to that conclusion and you okay telling me I'm not going to be a good fit, and they'll say absolutely every time. And then you just look at them and say, you know what? We might be a good fit. We might be able to do something together. And if you're okay, can we talk about what those next steps look like? Right? And once we lay that groundwork out for every sales call, two things happen. One, they realize they have a professional salesperson sitting across from them. Because 9 times out of 10, they've never had a salesperson sit across from them and say, here's how we're going to proceed. Right? 2, it establishes a level of equal business stature and trust. Because now they know this is a serious conversation and it's game on. And without that groundwork, without those rules laid out for them, you have no control over what they're going to do next. Right? You have no storyline whatsoever of what those next steps are going to be and what the choices are and the outcomes of that conversation.